we have game number 2 between BacT and Tim, and we are of course going to be on Tim's home map, Migration. To the northwest of the map, in the blue, we have BacT. He's playing as the Italians. And off to the east of the map, in the red, we have Tim playing as the Malay. Interesting. This is the first time we're going to have a water map, I believe, with non-mirror civs. I do believe that Tim, when he played this map versus DauT, chose to play as the Malay. And I do also believe that DauT mirrored him and picked the Malay as well. All of the other maps that we've seen with water, all of the team islands, we've always seen Italians, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be the first non-mirror match here, and that could make things quite interesting, as both of these civs are great water civs, but they have very different bonuses when it comes to the water. Tim here on the right, as I say, and BacT on the left, but look how close they are. This is one of those migration maps where the players actually end up being very, very close together, and as a result, that could really throw the spanner in the works for these guys if for one player, if one of them goes ahead and scouts very effectively in the early game. Now, it's not uncommon to send a fishing ship out to find, what's out there under the fog. And I believe, actually, in the game versus DauT last week, Tim did send a fishing ship out quite early and discovered DauT's docks quite early. Now, if he does the same thing here, he's going to find, well, BacT is very, very close. That's tasty. I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive earlier on, potentially. And we'll have to see if that does come into play here, or if players will sort of play more blindly, I suppose, and do their sort of standard migration build-up, which is to, of course, build 2-3 docks in the Dark Age, make a ton of fishing ships, and have a relatively late feudal time. So, of course, the big difference between these civs, the Italians get 50, their fishing ships only cost 50 wood instead of 75. For migration, I feel like that's actually a very strong bonus indeed, due to the fact that you are going to be making a lot of those fishing ships. And they have the cheaper dock techs as well. In fact, you know what, I'm not got a co-caster right now, so I can just show you the tech tree. So dock techs minus 50, fishing ships minus 25 wood, and they advance to the age less 15% in terms of the cost of that. So makes them very good for water, absolutely. And the Malay, on the other hand, they get the 80% faster upgrade time. The fish traps cost less. The fish traps provide unlimited food, but the fish traps aren't really going to be coming into play until much later stages of the game. So really, it's all about that upgrade time for the Malay. So I actually would pin the Indians to be the stronger civ, but if Tim is able to figure out, actually, BacT's very close to me, I'm going to get very aggressive a little bit earlier on. That could actually work out very well in Tim's favor. Absolutely. All right, see you later, T90. See T90 in the chat there. I think it's probably Premier League final day today, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I imagine all the football fans out there are going to be tuning into that. So yeah, right now, as I say, we're going to be seeing that kind of migration build-up, which is going to be adding in those docks, starting to fish away. Tim actually building his first dock at the back here. He's going to have good fish, of course, and not building it out on this top side. BacT, on the other hand, also going to be building his dock at the back as well. And he's going to have much worse fish in comparison, due to the way that the middle area of the map kind of juts out towards his island and forces like a narrow a narrow river in a sense, where there's not enough space for many fish to spawn. So this isn't the best dock for BacT. And in fact, if he built the dock on the top, he would have a much better time fishing. But since both players have built their first docks kind of away from each other on the opposite side of the islands to one another, it might be a while before they figure out exactly how this is looking. And of course, with limited scouting information, you can only guess at what the rest of the map looks like. Something we saw Tim do as well versus DauT, which was quite good, was getting a lot of scouting on the center as quickly as possible, using sheep to scout. And we'll see if they are able to do that. I'm looking where the sheep are, and it looks like maybe Tim could grab one sheep down here, but it's more likely that BacT will find these two sheep and be able to scout the center of the map a little faster once he does get line of sight onto that. As far as the center island goes itself, as usual, it's very hilly. There's not that much many spaces for TCs. The gold is kind of quite evenly spaced. You've got one big gold to the left, you've got one big gold to the right, and the stone is kind of more heavily towards the right side of the map. So this area right here, sort of between these two stone mines and the gold, this area, very, very good to control this, and I think that's what Tim will do. And there you go, look, scouting the center of the map with the sheep. And Tim, as I said, quite quickly sending that fishing ship out. And normally my memory is terrible, but it serves me right today. And Tim is going to go ahead and scout this map very early on. And this information, this scouting information, is going to be valuable. Unfortunately for Tim, he did send the fishing ship, I guess, the wrong way around, if you want to put it that way. He has sent it the long way around the island. Meanwhile, his sheep is traversing the island as well, and he's going to know when he gets to this corner of the map and starts heading upwards that BacT is going to be very close by. And we'll see if that influences Tim's decision here in what he will do. Both players basically mirroring each other at the moment. I think BacT might already be up though. Oh yes, BacT is up. I knew he was up because he sent villagers out to gold already. And that's pretty quick. 27 villages, 28 population. For migration, that is considered very quick. And in fact, BacT, with only 4 fishing ships, is going up in a blazing fast time here. Very unusual, and I think, you know, if he'd built the docks on the other side, if he scouted already, man, that could be super valuable as well if he gets aggressive here. And since, you know, following up with a fast castle off the back of this, with only 4 fishing ships and only a few berries left at home, it's going to be very hard. He's actually moved the villagers away from the berries now in favor of getting more villas onto the wood and gold so we can actually make more boats. But the question is, will BacT go to the south? Or will he go to the east? Because if he goes to the south, he's going to have a very long distance to travel. And that is the risk that you have to deal with when it comes to playing migration. Go the wrong way around, and it's going to be a long time before you see your enemy. Of course, Tim can afford to go up to the next stage a bit later because he does upgrade so much faster, 80% faster as we know. Tim now, amazing scouting information. He's picked up more sheep. He's scouting across the middle of the map, searching for the gold, searching for the stone, helping him to make better decisions later down the line. And just look at that score difference here. Tim clicking up to the feudal age now, but there's like a 200 score difference between them already, nearly a 300 score difference in fact, as BacT queues up his first boats, and 3 fire galleys for BacT coming out now. I think, to be honest with you, that Tim is in a very good position here. Look how many villages he has mining on the gold right now. He's got 10 gold miners, which is quite interesting. Moving his villagers away from berries, but the big difference between them are these fish. Tim has 4 fish up on the north, and he's got another 7 fish down on the south. Comparing that to BacT's 6 fish in total, he's really ahead in terms of fishing ships. The question is, will BacT be able to kill some of these fish thanks to his faster feudal time or not? And the answer is probably going to be not, because Tim's already getting a fire ship out by the time BacT has even reached him. And unfortunately for BacT, he fell into the migration trap and he went the wrong way. The wrong way around the island in the middle, sending those boats the painfully long way around this map. It's going to take him so long to get over to this right-hand side. Tim, with the transport ship quite quickly as well coming through, docking out here on the right-hand side. And again, this is very similar to Tim's style versus DauT as well. He's got this playstyle down, and he's going to get that dock up in time before these boats come in as well. So villager's going to be safe, and the dock will be completed. So this dock serves a couple of functions. You can, of course, bring boats down here to take the fish later on. It also, of course, can be used to make military as well. So nice to spread your docks out as much as possible when it comes to keeping your fish nice and efficient, I suppose. Tim up in the north as well, able to get 2 fire galleys out, prevent the fire galley from BacT doing any damage. And now look at the resources. Tim's quite far ahead in that resource count, and his food is going to be accelerating much faster as well. His food is definitely going to be going up towards 800 much quicker than BacT will be. BacT adding in a demo raft, and right now we've got the market coming up for BacT. I mean, BacT could speed up his castle time by selling stone and then buying some food. In fact, that's probably what's going to happen. But Tim, on the other hand, might not even need to sell the stone here in order to beat BacT to the castle age. Got the blacksmith coming up in the center. And of course, it's worth sending the villager out here as well, not just for the additional scouting information, but once he gets to the castle age, you can build a monastery, you can start gathering the relics. Having a couple of monks in the center makes it easier to prevent your opponent from completing their landing, plus the fact monks have a fantastic line of sight. So, yeah, really, really strong position for Tim, I feel, that's for sure. But Tim's actually behind in population right now, and I think BacT did start adding more fishing ships in. But you have to bear in mind that Tim's had his fishing ships working for longer. BacT is up to the castle age though, and he did sell that stone. Army now coming in for BacT. He got one nice demo shot. Meanwhile, you've got Tim sending the demos in as well. And Tim right here should get... Yeah, he should get... Oh, wow. Okay, that was close. BacT actually going to come out on top over there. And wow, there's more boats where that came from as well. Tim, okay, we're going to load up part 2. I was going to say, though, Tim out here on the right side with 3 boats, try to protect the larger area of his fishing economy. Whereas BacT has got the majority of his navy out on the left side. So we're going to load up part 2. Part 2 coming in right here. To reset the overlay as well. There we go. Part 2. Done. Okay, cool. So BacT could start doing some big damage out on this left side. Tim making a few more demo rafts, and as I said before many times, you really have to make sure those demo rafts hit their multiple targets. Hey, sailing backwards. Oh, HD, you never fail to amuse me. But yes, Tim on the way up to the castle age, and he's doing it 80% faster. So even though BacT clicked up quite a lot earlier than Tim, you can see BacT is at 64% of the way up. Tim's going to be overtaking him and probably hitting castle age about the same time even. Which again puts Tim in a great position here, I feel. Though BacT has started to pull things back a little bit. He's obviously equalizing now in the fishing ship count. But as I said before, Tim did have them working for longer. And that's what's going to matter in the long run. Tim still trying to fight up in the north. Galley numbers are pretty even out there. And I'm just looking now at how many docks we've got for BacT. We've got 6 docks for BacT. And Tim has just the 4, I believe. So BacT is going to be able to outproduce Tim. Oh, BacT here, sending a transport ship out. Going to get spotted by Tim. And there you go. Both players actually hitting the castle age at almost an identical time there as well. Lovely demo raft shots from BacT. Getting a few boats very nicely done. BacT looks like he's taking the advantage on the water here. And I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to hold that advantage, since he has got the additional docks out. His dock checks are cheaper as well, so War Galley more than affordable, able to get that straight away. And BacT having the upgrades now, allowing him to really push this advantage on the water. So yeah, interesting how this has kind of played out. 2 very, very different civs in terms of their bonuses. And they've ended up actually reaching the castle age at a very similar time, with a very similar number of villagers as well. So many demo rafts on the water though. Jeez. Explosions all over the place. Ridiculous. BacT, I think, wants to land on the center very soon. I'm wondering where that transport ship got to. There it is. It's sending his villager and a scout towards the middle now. And in the meantime, Tim making more and more and more and more demolition ships. I don't necessarily agree with that decision. I agree that, yes, they can be quite impressive. Taking down 2 ships at once are very nice. But BacT has more ships where that comes from, where they came from. And I don't think demo rafts are necessarily the way to win the water. But if he follows it up with some more fires, he's definitely going to be able to hold his own on the water, that's for sure. So, right now, I mean, Tim, in the center of the map, building quite a lot of houses out here, getting good vision, collecting all the sheep up as well. I mean, just like herding his sheep out here. I'm expecting him to throw down another TC somewhat soon, I would hope. But he actually did, I think, sell his stone as well to get to the castle age a little faster. So this villager just... Oh no, maybe not. Maybe maybe he bought stone then. I don't know. But either way, he is throwing down that TC. I mean, I expected him to do that any moment now. Tim currently doing careening. Counting down from 0 seconds. We're currently at minus 12 seconds on careening here. As that tech comes in. Obviously, yes, the overlay is still very much in development. It is still being worked on. BacT already has careening, so he's going to have a small advantage in this fight. But when careening completes for Tim, I imagine he'll take this over now. He will indeed. Pushing it back. And Tim so far keeping his fishing ships nice and safe. But I do like the choice from BacT here a lot. I do like BacT's decision to actually add in the war galleys, because these islands on migration are so small that war galleys can do a lot of damage from the shoreline. The only problem is war galleys alone are going to get beaten hands down, pound for pound, by these fire ships. So BacT's actually going to lose a few ships here, and he can't really fight as well as he'd like. I think he needs to focus on taking out the fire galleys, or sorry, the fire ships, and then he can use his war galleys to harass the woodlines and stuff. Nice demolition hit there, though, actually. Did a lot of damage to multiple ships, and that's exactly what he needs to be aiming for. Got another one coming through. If you can get that in the middle and detonate, nah. A little bit too soon, BacT. A little bit too soon, but another demolition raft should come through, and that should help to clear things up. But, I mean, I do like the idea of sending war galleys in, just because of how much damage he can do from the water. He can kill a lot of villagers, especially like these ones, for example, and these ones which are gathering the wood. And if you can really reduce your opponent's wood income, it's definitely going to help you keep the upper hand on the water, that is for sure. So BacT right now ahead by 6 population. It's mostly army, because Tim is ahead in villagers. And I think that's a way that BacT now is going to get back into this in terms of, well, not back into it, but a way that he's going to be able to get the edge in economy, or get an edge back in economy. There you go. A little bit of a delayed demolition ship explosion, but definitely a good one. And now BacT can start hitting these wood lines, and suddenly those 3 additional villagers for Tim is going to shrink quite quickly if these war galleys come in. There you go. He's already killed 1. If Tim doesn't react, he'll kill many boats. Sorry, many villagers even. He will kill many boats as well if he keeps sending the demolition rafts in, or demolition ships. God damn. Getting them mixed up. Tim taking the sheep. I mean, why not? Free food. Why not? Let's see what else he can do from the water. Obviously with ballistics and bodkin arrow and war galley, he just have great range. And Tim, having to move his lumber lines a little bit here, having to redistribute his eco a little bit. Maybe he wants to send some more vills over to the middle, perhaps, as he loses more villagers now on this gold. And in fact, we're now going to see BacT probably taking a villager lead very soon. Meanwhile, BacT has sent a villager across to the center, as we know, sending his scout as well, building a monastery, grabbing the relics. It's always worth doing that. And I'm actually surprised we didn't see Tim building a monastery sooner. And maybe we'll see a second TC from BacT in the center fairly soon as well. But still, I mean, the fire ships are just so good that BacT is having a real hard time massing enough war galleys to actually contend with this. Once you get to a critical mass of war galleys, the fires aren't a problem anymore. Oh, a great demolition shot here from the dock. That was nicely done. And now BacT is going to get the advantage here again, I think, allowing him to once again hit back at Tim's economy. But I mean, Tim's done a great job of keeping these fish alive. He's almost fished out the sea here. We have a serial case of overfishing on this right-hand side, and BacT needs to take those ships down. And with his larger navy, with double the war galleys here, or double the navy of Tim, I think he should be able to do that. Or at least that should be on his radar anyway. For now, still trying to harass the economy of Tim a little bit, but if BacT just comes south, I think he'll easily win this fight. 27 army versus 14. BacT surely has the edge here. Even if there are a couple of fire ships thrown in, BacT should be up to numbers. He's got a demolition ship behind. He should be able to bring it in and clean things up. And I think this is a good fight for BacT to take, absolutely. And if he can take down these few remaining ships, he's got an in. He's got a way to hit these fish. He's got a way to start really killing more vills. BacT is only behind by 4 villages right now, but he's only on 1 TC as well. Bear in mind that Tim has been had that TC up on the mainland for quite some time. But yes, Tim looks like he's putting up an okay-ish defense, but I feel like BacT should be able to overwhelm this still. Where's the reinforcements? BacT? Got to keep him coming through. It's actually BacT who's now falling away. But still, I mean, he still has additional ships on the water. Just Tim is able to reinforce so much faster that he ends up pulling himself an edge. Nice micro from BacT there as well, though, as he retreats away. That was nicely done. So BacT on the center of the map, building up a TC now. Finally. He has got vision of the TC of Tim, of course. He knows that the TC is there. He sees the wood being chopped. He sees it through the fog. Tim with a monastery as well, and mining the gold out. See what his main gold looks like. It's not too bad, actually. Still got quite a bit of gold left there. Got the monastery, university up for both players, and BacT on the way up to the Imperial Age now. So I think BacT's done a really good job throughout the Castle Age. He's pressured Tim quite a lot. He's got Tim playing very defensively out here. And he's able to go up to the Imperial Age that much faster for 2 reasons. One is that he didn't build the second TC for until much later on. And so he wasn't investing as much food into more villager production. And 2, he's the Italians. It's 15% cheaper to go to the Imperial Age. So that's going to give him that nice edge with this upgrade here. Still though, army count's looking even now as Tim's going to come forward with more fire ships. And these fire ships are just so good. He will be able to once again clean up, or like push back, BacT's navy, I should say, as those fires come through. Tim though, still not up to the Imperial Age, and he's still got a way to go. He's still fishing quite nicely. He's still got great control of the center of the map, although he did just lose a villager to a conversion out here. But yeah, he's going to be a lot later to Imp, and that's where things can get scary, because if BacT, you know, hits Imp so far ahead of Tim that he can just really push his tech advantage and really get the most out of that tech advantage, then it's going to be very difficult, I feel, for Tim to really hold on the water anymore. For the time being, it's been pretty back and forth. It's been pretty close. BacT's made the aggression, Tim's defended it, and that's happened time and time again. But once BacT gets Galleon, once BacT, I guess, could go into fast fires, Tim's suddenly not going to have the ability to do that anymore. And that could end up costing him the water. Although you have to then question, well, is losing the water this late in the game so much of a big deal? And, you know, the later the game goes on migration, the more valuable the center of the island becomes, or the center of the map becomes. Because that's where the extra resources are. That's where all the gold is. That's where the majority of the landmass on the map is. But, of course, Tim's not going to want to just give up the water for free anyway. But he definitely looks like he's holding on to this center island very, very well. BacT, though, has got Bracer coming in any second now, as Tim now researches the Imperial Age upgrade, and he's not going to be too far behind, so I don't think that BacT is going to be able to fully capitalize on his tech advantage. He is, however, making a trebuchet, and he's going to deploy that either onto this monastery or onto the TC. I think it's the monastery. Wants to deny that relic. But behind this, unbeknown to BacT, there is a castle from Tim. Unfortunately for Tim, he's at the bottom of a hill though, and that means that everything up here is going to have that juicy attack advantage, meaning that this monastery is going to go down incredibly quickly. And so will the TC as well. Meanwhile, Galleon is complete. Bracer is complete. And Tim is in full retreat as he cannot contest against this navy. His villagers on the gold out here are getting taken down. And Tim, this castle, it's so far away from the shoreline, I don't think it's really going to help him much defending the water. So it looks like BacT's going to be able to loop around here and come around, maybe find some more villagers on the wood lines, for example, and really just surround this island that Tim's found himself on. Fast fire coming in for Tim though, wasting no time, and BacT, would you believe it, just doing wheelbarrow right now. It's 37 minutes, but it doesn't really matter because he doesn't have many farms. And oh no, Tim making a DauT castle out here, 93%, 96%, 98%, but losing so many villagers building that. It wasn't quite a DauT castle. He will complete it. Nicely done by BacT to get those picks. And Tim now finishing up fast fires. He's going to try and get an engagement, but he just doesn't have many numbers, to be frank. He's got 18 military units out right now, and those fast fires are extremely outnumbered. Although they take a pitiful amount of damage per shot, the demolition will come in and do some nice damage as well. Look at this fast fire ship right here. It takes no damage at all. It's ridiculous. Yes, I like the way that BacT has built his stone walls out here. That's very nice. Just to help protect his trebuchet, of course, and allow his trebuchet to have free reign over this section of Tim's economy. It's nice. Tim has got, you know, a foothold here, but it's definitely under a lot of pressure. It's definitely in peril. BacT, meanwhile, mining the gold quite nicely at the back. His own gold on his main island is actually gone now, so he's going to have to start sending more vills to this gold out here. And unfortunately for BacT, that gold is actually in a very, very bad position. Both players are really hurting for gold at the moment, in fact, as the reserves of gold are basically at rock bottom for both players. Tim, with the fire ships, able to really regain water once again, and it's now Tim who has the larger army. Tim's fires really doing the trick against those galleons. And, yeah, I mean, unfortunately for BacT, he just can't saturate this gold very well. You know, half of it's blocked by the tree line to the north. He has to put the mining camp somewhere, and that's also blocking here as well. And, yeah, it's really inefficient. It's really messy. But at least he can get some gold from that. Meanwhile, Tim is struggling to gather gold at all because every time he builds a mining camp, the trebuchet kills it. And if BacT keeps doing that, well, Tim's going to be starved of gold. The market prices at the moment are decent. Stone can be sold for 75, food at 78, wood at 76. So they can turn to the market if things become too much of a dire situation. But still, the fast fires from Tim saving the day for him at the moment, as the galleons from BacT are all gone now. There's no galleons left. It's all about the fast fire ships. I feel like they're just so overpowered almost on the water. And the problem with the water triangle is that it's not really a triangle. You know, the theory is, well, galleons counter demolition ships counter fires, and fires counter galleons. It's supposed to go in like a circle like that, or a triangle like that, however you look at it. But the fact that you lose the demolition ship when it explodes kind of doesn't make it a triangle anymore. It gives you real big problems. So fire ships just become super strong, and fire ships can dominate on the water in the late game. Tim, though, losing a castle out here, and it looks like he might just lose the trebuchet as well. We did see some of these melee karambits coming out, but they're just so weak. And amazingly, BacT will keep his TC alive. He'll keep his trebs alive as well. And I'm really pinning BacT as the favorite, to be honest, here, as it's been such a back and forth fight on the water. BacT's now sending more vills across to the center, and yeah, as Flo and AOC in the chat says, oh no, not the karambits. Yes, the karambits, they're coming out. They're so cheap and so rubbish. But if they can snipe a couple of these unprotected siege units, it's absolutely worth it. And in fact, I think they will, as BacT is sending his units forward now, immediately retreating them away as soon as he sees those karambits coming in, making sure to get into the TC so that they can take the karambits down quickly, and he can try and save his important and valuable trebuchets here. Both players are hurting for gold, as I say, and BacT cannot afford to lose trebuchets right now. They're too expensive. But yes, such another messy game, as both players still fighting for that water control. Again, BacT seems to now have the edge after losing it multiple times and then coming back multiple times. But as I say, the focus ends up switching very much towards the center of the map here. One thing to note, by the way, is that BacT did lose most of his fish out on the south here. He didn't rebuild his docks or anything, so those fish are all gone for BacT now. Whereas Tim's able to fish away still, building docks in the south of the map to access the fish down here. And he's just hoovered the ocean of fish. There's no fish left in the ocean out here. It's quite funny. But that's something that's really kind of, I don't know, propping Tim up a little bit. He definitely has, you know, there's definitely some value in having that food income still. But once again, the galleons coming in, and they're going to find some more villagers in this wood line. Both players at like 100 vills each. Both players struggling to get their population up. Both players struggling for gold still. But it's definitely Tim who is struggling the most. He, as I say, cannot build a mining camp. Every time he builds the mining camp, the Treb kills it. So he's like long distance mining this. Where are they going? To the mining camp over here, yes. And there you go again. He tries to build the mining camp. A hail of rocks come from the sky. It's like, nope. And now, of course, we've got some crossbows coming in for BacT as well. So this is really nice. He's going to be able to kill the karambits super easily with 30 health and 3 pierce armor. Yeah, no problem. Karambit's down. And he's just going to lock down that gold. Very nice. Yeah, I'm feeling like BacT's got this game in the bag here. I think it's his game to lose, you could put it that way, at this point. He's definitely got himself in the dominant position. He's got the majority of the center island for himself. He's mining gold safely, which is really important right now. As Rez would say, there's no trash for the water. And his Trebs just doing so much work on these hills. He's just got like a map advantage where he's got the hills on his side. Look how quickly these TCs are falling. And this game is well and truly in the bag. I would say that for BacT at the moment. As I say, even if he loses the water now, what is he really losing? Because if he pushes Tim off of the land, there's no way Tim can really win this game, I feel. I mean, you could have a huge stalemate, I guess, but BacT will eventually take an eco lead and rebuild up on the water. So, whereas Tim will just be starved for resources, as there's practically nothing left on his home island. Apart from farms, of course. And yeah, BacT here, just slowly but surely. I mean, he's not rushing in. He's not throwing anything away unnecessarily. He's being very cautious as he pushes forward with his trebuchets. On the south side, Tim not being very safe at all. I mean, this trebuchet here fighting the castle, uphill of course, and BacT able to send out a single battering ram to attack this trebuchet. And as we know, rams have an attack bonus versus trebs, so I think it's 4 hits and they'll go, no, it's 3 hits even, and they'll go down. So bye-bye treb. And Tim, that's 200 gold and 200 wood that he cannot just throw away like that. And there you go, unprotected treb going down. Not so good at all, and I like the way that BacT has just played very cautiously out here. He's once again seemingly winning the water. Of course, he can't really fight underneath this castle because the fire ships are going to be protected by it. So he's just kind of hanging around at the north of Tim's island, nearly wasting a treb there to the fire. I mean, who would have thought that? Fire ship killing trebs? Never. But no. The treb will stay alive as BacT notices in time, gets it away. Another castle going down for Tim out here. And Tim, well, he's got a lot of villagers out here now with the transport ship dropping a bunch more over. Try to mine the stone to get another castle up or something like that. But Arbalest now done for BacT. Stable coming up as well, so I guess he can add some knights to deal with these skirms. And denying the relics as well, actually. That's a good point. I didn't consider that, but Tim did have the 2 relics, which are now gone as well. And as you guys in the chat are saying, as I'm saying, this game is in the bag for BacT, as he will also win this fight up in the north as well, I imagine. Or he should win this fight. I mean, it's so weird seeing fire ships fighting, but he will get the upper hand. And Tim's really left with nothing here. Yet he's not resigning, and obviously, you know, it's a tournament game. He doesn't want to give up too soon. But I think now is the time, and he will indeed call GG right now as well. And it was a good game for BacT there, indeed. Stop with the Dota memes? What Dota memes? I'm not sure what I said anymore. I don't know what I said. But yeah, I mean, that was a really good game from BacT. It was a messy one once again. And I thought Tim played well in the early game. I think he did do a good job. He landed very early. He established a presence in the center of the map very early. He identified that, like, this area, like I said, between the 2 stones and the gold is the most important potentially to control. He was ahead on the water for some time, but BacT was able to engage very, very carefully in the center and take some good fights, keeping his units alive. And just look at the KD in the end as well. 230 units killed to 146 units lost. And BacT also, don't underestimate the value of this hill as well. And I think, you know, Tim could have been in a much better position if he'd have actually built on top of this hill as well, with a castle, perhaps. Because I believe he built his first castle here, and you never want to be building your castle at the bottom of the hill. It's just makes it so much easier for your opponent to crack it. And yeah, I think Tim maybe should have prepared some defense up this way and really took the hill here, because I think this is the only hill that's really worth controlling, since it's in the center of the island and it's definitely the largest as well. So yeah, maybe Tim could have considered grabbing the hill here, but other than that, it was a very back and forth game on the water. No player really had complete water dominance until the later stages of the game, and that's always the challenge with migration. The balance between water and land, finding that right balance and making sure that you invest your resources into the right place at the right time. I think that's exactly what BacT did, and we can see at the achievements there, BacT was able to, in the end, gather a lot more gold and also gather a lot more wood as well, which is, of course, very important for building those ships. Villager high for BacT in the end. 3 relics as well, gathering gold over time, 1,800 additional gold from that. And once he denied the 2 relics at the end for Tim as well, that's obviously going to give him another huge advantage in the late game. So there you go, it's a 2-0 for BacT, and as I said before, the 3rd game isn't played because of internet issues with Tim. Tim decided to give BacT the admin win instead of rescheduling to just finish the 3rd match, and so that means that the end of the series will actually end up being a 3-0 victory to BacT. I'll update that so that's clear, and that's going to be it for our 2nd series of the day, but don't go anywhere, because we do have Liereyy versus Slam coming up. We've got DauT versus TheViper coming up. And if you want to get hyped about any of these sets, get hyped about these ones. I'm very excited to see Liereyy versus Slam. And of course, the El Clasico at the end of the day as well, with DauT versus TheViper. Shout